A shortened history of England. Hello everybody, we are Silvana Gallardo and Antonella Torres, and today we are going to see the mingling of the races. The first we had the early man, and the first stage is Stone Age. Stone Age was a prehistoric cultural stage or level of the human's development. It was characterized by the creation and use of the stone tools, and it is divided into three separate periods: Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic. The first one, Paleolithic or Old Stone Age, it was about 25 million years ago, and it was the last ice age, and people were modern Homo sapiens. Then we have Mesolithic or Middle Stone Age. It was about 10,000 years before Christ, and people were fishers, hunters, and gatherers. Then we have Neolithic or New Stone Age. It was about 4,500 years ago before Christ, and it was the most important period because farming was introduced to Britain. This includes domesticated wheat and barley, sheep and cattle, and poetry was also introduced. The second stage is Bronze stage, and it was about 2,300 before Christ. At this time, people lived in settlements consisting of round houses grouped together. The most important metal was bronze, and they used this metal to create weapons. And the first field systems are developed in Britain about 1,500 before Christ. Then we have Iron Age. Iron Age appears with the Celts, probably came from Central Europe, were technically advanced. They could work with iron and could make various weapons. And then the people who used bronze, they took new crops, and they used new farming techniques. Then we have the Iberians. Iberians, they live in Britain about 2,000 years before Christ. They raised during the Long Stone and Bronze Ages. They have dark hair and not very tall. Sharp heads, starting breeding goats, oxen, and pigs. They were good at working metal, starting to exploit the surface mines for gold, tin, and copper. They introduced agriculture, live in wooden huts, and build Stonehenge. Then we have the Celts. The Celts, they live in the Iron Age, was the age of the Celts in Britain, about 600 to 500 years ago, around it. And they were tall, strong people with long and red and sandy hair. They were armed with iron swords and knives. The Romans called it Britons, and the islands Britannia. The Britons were skillful workers, and they made things of iron, bronze, tin, clay, and wood, and decorated them with beautifully drawn lines and patterns. And they made money out of golds and silvers, for example, coins.
Hello, as my partner Antonella says, I'm talking about the Roman Britain, the Anglo-Saxon period, and the Norman conquest. Britain became a sphere of Roman interest in the first century. In 55 BC, a famous Roman general, Julius Caesar, decided to invade Britain because he was angry with the British people for helping the Gauls, who fight with the Romans. Uh, Caesar had conquered not territory but had established clients on the island and brought Britain into the Roman spheres of political influence. Julius Caesar tried to invade Britain twice, first in 54 and then in 55 BC, and his army did defeat the tribes that were waiting for him. Unfortunately, in both occasions his boats were destroyed by a storm, and he went to home. The Romans did not return to Britain for 19 years. Then, in 43 AD, the Emperor Claudius decided to invade Britain again. He sent 40,000 troops who gradually conquered of the country. The troops were terrified of going to Britain because they had heard about the tribes who lived there, and the Emperor Claudius even brought elephants over to Britain to scare the people um, who had never seen such amazing and unusual creatures. When Romans had conquered most of Britain, the country became peaceful. While the Romans were in Britain, they changed a great many things for the better. Sorry. For example, Taunas. There were a quiet, sensible rulers. Then we have the Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian Walls was constructed over a period of 6 years by order of the Emperor Hadrian, who came to Britain in 122. This wall was built separate the Romans from the barbarians. It achieved for over 215 years. Today, the area between the Thou Shield and Ravenglass is studded with forts, castle, temples, and turrets. Adrian wall, was not meant to was not meant to be defeated like a castle. Instead, it was a barrier that allowed Roman soldiers to control the movements of people coming into the living Roman Britain. This allowed the Roman army to make sure that the troublemakers could not move easily, either north or south. The wall was also a good place to keep a watch over the frontier. The turrets and castle allowed Roman soldiers to watch what was happening along the whole of the frontier. Um, then we have a Roman rule. One of these rules was constructed the Hadrian's Wall to protect from the pig and Scot. Then introduced Roman law and order, used the Latin, and introduced the Christianity. Another was the facilitate the collections of taxes and the movement of troops. Then we have the Roman Empire versus the Celts. For 5 centuries, the Roman and Celt army and culture clashed, putting the most highly organized state of the ancient world against fierce individualism. The Celts and the Romans were rushing into a into a confrontation, that would span several centuries. Uh, Around of 12,000 Celts warriors arrived along the Alia rivers, and, and facing them were approximately 24,000 Roman troops, who was the Roman army was unprepared for the might and fury of the Celt Church, because because the because physically the Celts are more bigger than the Romans, and the Celts have wielded a long double-edged iron sword, and this sword slashing and sheltered behind body length, and they punch it into the enemy. Then, led by the warrior chieftain Brennus, the Celts hacked through their opponents and sending the survivors fleeing for Rome. Within days, the victorious Celts entered and burning and pillaged the capital. The Celtic army occupied Rome for 7 months until paid £1,000 in gold to live. Um, the Romans ultimately enclosed their capital within the massive wall to protect from the future. Now we have the Anglo-Saxon period. The invasion by the Anglo-Saxon of modern day began in 449 AD, but actually take place over several decades. They were three major groups: the Anglo, the Saxon, and the Jutes. The Britons, perhaps led by a commander named Arthur, fought a series of legendary battles in an effort to stop the invasions. This effort failed, and the Germanic Anglo-Saxon tribes organized themselves into a confederation of 7 kingdoms, who called what's called the Heptarchy. One of the most important civilizing force was the Christianity. They began accepting late in the 6th century, and in the 719, a new group of invaders, the Danes, also known as the Vikings, began to devastate the flourishing culture. English King Alfred the Great was able to resist the first invasions. He was a strong proponent of learning and education. He oversaw the writing of the Anglo-Saxon Chronic, which recorded early English life, and he couldn't hold off subsequent invasion, however, and was forced to agree a truce. Finally, we have the Norman conquest, who marks the end of the Viking Age and the beginning of a long conflict between the English and the French. The Normans were the descendants of a group of Viking riders. Their chief, Rolf the Ganger, became first Duke of Normandy. The Northmen began speaking French and developed a powerful feudal state. The Duke of Normandy, William, was an illegitimate son of the old Duke, uh, who was after the death of King Edward of England. William claiming the throne of the England. Sorry, the Norman kings of England still had control over Normandy and other territories of France. Uh, for over 300 years, French was the language of power spoken by the royalty, aristocrats, and the high power official, some of who couldn't speak English at all. During this time, thousands of French words entered the English language. Then we have as a political system the implementation of the and we have the Magna Carta, who spelled a right of noblesse which kings could not violate, and the Parliament, who represent nobles and merchants, advised king and had to approve new taxes. This has everything about this theme. Thank you. Bye.